JB here. Hope I was doing outstanding. November 15th, 2024, 326. Going to be a really quick rant. I don't even have my charts up right now. Let me just make sure. Yeah. But take a look at S&P markets in the red once again. I don't know if it's continuation from Powell's comments yesterday. Um, a lot of new positions in President Trump's cabinet. So that could be some of it. And then, rates, right? So, um, well, yields are actually flat here, but I guess you're kind of setting up for another higher for longer scenario. And that was, I think it was back at the end of 2022 where there was concerns it was going to be higher for longer. And that kind of rattled and spooked markets. But again, mentioned it yesterday and this morning, S&P is up 35% year over year on Monday. So to see a 2.5%, actually, let's see what it is right now. It was 2.5% before. Weekly loss on the S&P was 2.3. Now it's 2.1% for the week on the SPY. The issue is the small caps, and small caps are down almost 4%, 3.99%. So those are again, still well above its highs from the previous week, right? We were under 220 to start the election week before the big rally. So I guess it all helps keep things kind of in perspective. But at some point, if we do get more selling and things break, then there could be some opportunities for further downside. I don't think that's the scenario just yet. We do have earnings from Nvidia next week, so that's going to be hyped all weekend. It's going to be hyped Monday. It's going to be hyped Tuesday because they report on Wednesday, and their earnings are going to impact a whole variety of different companies and sectors, the AI names, the semi names. So certainly be interesting. I mean, it's 3 point whatever billion trillion, excuse me, trillion trillion dollar company right now, and it has a 11% implied move. So it's like a $330 billion market cap implied move, right? Just pretty remarkable. On one piece of data from 3 months of earnings is going to either erase or create 300 billion more in valuation. That just boggles my mind. But it is what it is. That's what it is going to be next week. So all right, so that's next week. Just some individual names, and I finally added Joby Aviation. Joby Aviation. Excuse me. If you don't know that name, it's a name that's been on. I've been watching it for a while, but haven't really been interested in adding anything just yet. They just had an offering all the way down to $5. You see the stock kind of churning around, and then it looks like it's ready to go. And especially now that you have the possibility of some, just a hint of deregulation or less regulation, that this is a company that's creating pretty much. I mean, you call them electric helicopters, but they're not really. But kind of in a nutshell, that's what they are. Except they're faster, less, heck of a lot less noise, right? A helicopter. That's one of the big negatives of them, right? The noise. Uh, so there, it just you have to in the future you have to think that the aviation, especially for smaller trips, trips to the airport, lots of congestion, Los Angeles, all these areas that have opportunities, and people use helicopters now. But if you're able to scale that at a less expensive option, less, obviously less emissions. Although, I mean, how do you charge it, right? But that's a rant for another day. And supposedly, if you take a look at the actual market for uh, that sector, is supposedly going to be over 30 billion in 2030, and possible the beginning of commercial flights starting next year. So those are all kind of catalysts. I'm looking at 2025. I think the market will start pricing in, especially on Joby. They have partnerships. Toyota just announced another $500 million investment. I think they're on the hook for another 500 million more into next year. Partnership with Uber. I think American Airlines. So they have other people on board. And that's the kind of thing you want to see with a company like that that's just on the cusp, because they all will have a vested interest in making sure it's successful. And not only that, being the big companies that they are, they have connections. And so I really like the name. You look at the calls, I'm like, this could probably be a $10 stock in the coming months. And it was a $10 stock when I started watching. Maybe it was 12 or 13 bucks. And right now the calls look inexpensive, so I'll continue to look for opportunities for that. Yeah, SMCI. So everybody's talking about this delisting situation, but they have to file with the Nasdaq to get extensions or to get a waiver or whatever. So people are acting like it's going to get delisted starting Monday and trade on the pink sheets. It's a process, and then it'll say so and so will be delisted on this date, and even that it will still trade. Company still does substantial revenue, so. I, I'm not certainly not trading super micro down here. It's just not my it's not my cup of tea, especially with the overhang. But I mean, if they aren't delisted, it's going to trade back into the 20s. So it could be an interesting setup there, but they have to get an auditor, right? And this auditor, I mean, you have the big four. So the big four auditors do pretty much the largest companies on the planet, or especially in the US, because it takes a lot of manpower and hours to, and then to go through the financial and then to vouch for them. So no company is just, nobody off the streets is going to say, yeah, I'm going to be your auditor. It's just not how it works. So that's, I think Supermicro has already used two of the four top, the big four firms, the accounting firms. It's gonna be tough to see who they get, but definitely not a name I'm looking to trade. But I wouldn't be surprised to see it in its 20s next week if there's no update, or if there is a positive update. If it's obviously if it's negative and delisting, then be a different story. All right, so that's Joby. So I ended those strikes. Um, this morning, right out of the bell, first solar was low, low to mid 190s, then 196 and 197. Also, boom, it was 200, and then it all the way up to 200 and 203.99 it hit. So use that move to lock some of my calls in to cover some costs, a little profit for over 100%. And then, sure enough, was it deuce? It hits 204, and then it was just a meltdown for the rest of the session. It's volatile, so it could be up 5% 3 sessions next week and be at 220, or it could start hitting new lows. I don't think it's going to be the latter. I think it'd be the former. So I'll continue to hold the rest of my other strikes. The premiums are expensive anyway, so I don't want to be in a spot where it gaps up Monday morning and I'm going to scramble, try and re-enter, and the premiums, going to be higher than when I exited. So I'll just hold on to my calls, the rest of the calls there. Lemonade, right? All the way up to 35 and change, 35.17 right before the noon hour. And the thing with Lemonade, I think that's like that's like a 2 or 3 year high. I think it's January 2022 was the last time it was over $35. So I'm not saying that that it's going to get, that could be the top for now, but I'll wait till Monday or two. I'll wait till next week. I still have a couple of the December strikes, because this is one of those feast or famine situations. Either going to start to continuation on the squeeze and get over $40, or it's going to head back under 30. And right now I'm kind of on the fence, but I'll wait for 31. If that doesn't hold, I'll revisit. Gold's down for the 6th session in a row. You take a look at GLD. I'm looking at Dust and J-Dust calls. They're just, the spreads are tough. The premiums are hard. And the thing is, especially small caps down so much, I would think the miners would be down almost in tandem, but they're actually not doing too bad today. So too bad relative to the rest of the market. So I'll just sit on my hands there. Netties, which was all the way up near 86 after the open, all the way back down into the 84s, under 84 for a minute in the early morning, and then has slow melt to the upside. This is a name. If China markets are up over the weekend, similar to what Baidu and Baba do, it could gap up. And you see what happened with Baba this morning as well. Gap to the upside right after its earnings report, then reversed it into the red all the way down to 80. I think it hit 86 and change. It's starting to bounce a little bit. So one of these days is the bottom for these, especially for Baba. Baba reports monster quarters, has tremendous stock buybacks to the point where if they continue to do this, they'll have no shares left to buy. So you have to think at some point, maybe it gets Jim, maybe they take it private, right? Yeah, maybe Ma will take it. We'll take it private. Sense my sarcasm there. I think that's it. I'm trying to look at, I was looking at Square before, and it all the way down to 82 at about 2 o'clock, and then it's bouncing with the rest of the crypto names. So I was looking at that, possibly get some calls into next week, but I'm just gonna sit on my hands. There's been some great trades this week with Lemonade, with Square, and then there's been some rough ones. SE is just rough. I kind of wish I just let it be for this week, but I still feel pretty convicted in where it's positioned in the market, where I think it's headed, and I think it's 130 plus stock in the coming months. But that's it, folks. This record. I'll be back on audio. I'm going to try and do a week ahead on Sunday, but again, NVIDIA is the big event, and then yeah, the week after is Thanksgiving, so then you're gonna have a lot of the retail stuff. I mean, back in the day, you used to have a lot of movers, shakers and movers into Black Friday. Then the half session on Black Friday, the day after, there'd be a lot of talk about who's doing well, who did, what malls are busy. Now it's the Cyber Monday, right? And it's web traffic. Who's got the most web traffic? What's the hottest item? So things don't move the way they used to on that time, but it certainly will be a barometer for the overlying, well, for the overall economy, right? All right, folks, have a great week. I'll be back rock and roll.